committee within the task force. It includes faculty members from engineering, art and design and history, computer science, English, marketing and logistics, management, sociology, and staff and administrators from our library, Advising and Resource Center, and the Division of Research and Graduate Studies. I want to thank each one of our committee members for their contributions, which has been invaluable in shaping our discussions. Over the past several months, our committee has convened bi-weekly via Zoom, engaging in robust discussions on multifaceted aspects of AI integration. We have delved deep into the very definition of AI and its application within academia, recognizing the dynamic nature of AI technology and its profound impact on our society. Central to our deliberations has been critical examination of ethical considerations surrounding AI. We have discussed trustworthiness of AI processes, grappled with issues of bias and fairness in data algorithms, and emphasized the importance of upholding data privacy and security. We have also discussed accountability of AI-driven decisions and pondered the broader societal implications of AI technologies, with always a keen eye on aligning our endeavors with moral and ethical ideals of Fresno State. In the realm of academic research, we have explored AI's role extensively, from leveraging AI to navigate scholarly databases, identifying relevant literature to establishing guidelines for ethical integration of AI tools. Our discussions have been both enlightening and thought-provoking. We have addressed concerns such as plagiarism, academic integrity, and research misconduct, ensuring that our efforts are rooted in ethical principles. Moreover, we have recognized AI as a powerful driver of innovation. By harnessing AI algorithms and natural language processing, we have unlocked new avenue of discovery, enhanced decision-making processes, and drive progress across various disciplines. Our commitment is to fostering cross-disciplinary discussion of AI topics and learning from experiences and other institutions within the CSU system. But our efforts extend beyond dialogue and deliberation. This semester, we are committed to action. Through hosting focus groups and engagement sessions, we seek to amplify the voices of our broader campus community, including faculty, staff, and students, and industry partners. By reviewing the survey results of the Fresno State AI Survey for employees, we aim to gain deeper insights in the prevailing sentiments and concerns regarding AI integration, thereby informing our recommendations to our campus community. So far, our recommendations include training for all faculty and students, and facilitating discussions and understanding ethical considerations. We are laying the groundwork for a future where AI enhances learning and research outcomes while upholding our moral and ethical principles. We hope that our report can process and continue our journey towards a future where AI enriches the academic landscape of Fresno State. Thank you.
Next, we have the Security and Classified Data Subcommittee. If you could just introduce yourself. And
yes, my name is harder, so I'll go for it. My name is Farin Bakhtiari. I am not the chair of our committee. We only have 4 people on our committee, and Dr. Bellman wasn't able to be here. He is our wonderful in the computer science department, and he leads the cybersecurity aspect of the committee. And we also have 2 wonderful fungus here. Thank you so much. And we also have Kyle, who are in administration. So I think, and I'm in psychology, by the way, I think what we have covered is this aspect of kind of classified data aspect of our, is this working or am I, okay. I'm usually loud, I'm like, is this just my voice? We have the aspect of classified data kind of covered. I think what we kind of, when it comes to recommendations, we are trying to figure out how we get that legal aspect under control. I think we probably need either a separate subcommittee focused on legal issues, or hopefully getting somebody added to our subcommittee on that. We kind of started thinking about security beyond data security, thinking of the physical aspect of the security of the campus. just a few months ago there was a bomb threat. It didn't end up being a thing, but just kind of thinking about how would AI impact if there are like 1,000 calls saying that there's something, and us trying to figure out what's true or not. So these are some of the things we've looked into, kind of the literature, trying to figure out what are other universities doing when it comes to security, classified data, and legal implications. But we also wanted to get a sense of, coming from psychology, I think for me it's this perception of security. Do we feel safe? So we got the idea, and thank you so much for putting the survey out. So we're going to get some data about overall perception of what the campus community feels about AI, but also the security aspect of it. I do also have, I love a captured audience. So I have, if you feel like it, have you guys ever used Socrative before? Yeah. If you have, I just have it running. If you go on Socrative.com right now, my room is tell me more, just tell me more altogether. And I have 3 questions on this aspect of just asking about what are your personal concerns when it comes to security, legal implications, and classified data. So if you feel like it right now as I'm talking about it, just go on, tell me what, because we are looking into it. The more I get feedback from stakeholders and people who care, we'll end up looking into it more. But that's us. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Good job. So next we have the Teaching and Learning Committee.
Hello everyone, I'm one of the co-chairs on the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee. My name is Dermot Donnelly Hermosillo, and I'll also let Shahab introduce himself.
Shahab Tayyib.
Yeah, okay, you're going to leave it to me here. So in terms of the Teaching and Learning Committee, we had 10 people on that committee, and we had some fantastic discussions about aspects of AI within the classroom, thinking critically about needs for both students and in turn instructors and faculty. So there was various types of discussions. Again, I think a common thing that comes up with more recent discussions of AI, I think some of these headlines can be sensationalist about like students cheating, but we fought hard against any type of perspective like that. We actually pushed about like, well, where are there resources to support students? If they're going to be using these tools, how are we facilitating that? Is there supports within the classes that they're taking? Is there broader stuff across the campus in terms of how they're being supported? How are we facilitating that? Because I think the students want to use these in appropriate ways, but sometimes that guidance just isn't there. And probably not surprising because sometimes faculty themselves are still learning some of this stuff. So that's where we were having considerations across various different AI tools, whether it's text, image, audio, code, different forms of generative AI. And thinking carefully about that, whether are there standalone workshops or is this embedded within course structures? What will that look like? We actually got to the point of inviting several members of the library in as well, because we're like, okay, some of this is tying in with aspects of referencing as well, and how are the existing library structures, how could some of that be maybe extended slightly? And they've actually already developed a LibGuide for the use of AI. So if you search for that, Fresno State LibGuide AI, you'll actually find a working document that they're continually adding to, and they're actually adding resources. There's some concerns of obviously finding tools that are going to be sustained longer term, because there could be quick turnover with all the development that's going on. Are some of the websites that are being recommended, are they going to be here this time next year? So they're important considerations as well in terms of sustaining this longer term. In terms of that was probably the first key thing we talked about, was the aspects of using AI. Second piece was teaching with AI, and how are we actually taking advantages of the power of AI. There's fantastic affordances there. I would primarily describe it as a wonderful brainstorming tool. I wouldn't say obviously that we copy and paste anything like that, but it could get you started on moving forward in a process. And how do we support faculty with that in terms of the types of tools that are coming through? There's also implications for that in terms of policies, whether that's at department, college or university levels, in terms of transparency and aspects of fairness and how we communicate that within our usage. Do we as faculty communicate that to our students, that maybe parts of our syllabus were developed by AI? Are we being transparent with our students about that in terms of maybe assessments that we're developing? Are we asking those critical questions of ourselves? It's very easy to project towards students, but are we looking inwards and asking those questions? Are we being transparent about our own usages of AI and are there guidelines for that? Where do we find that? A third piece that I've kind of alluded to already was the referencing AI. There are more resources coming through just to support students and showing them how to effectively reference it and be transparent in their usage of AI. Fourth one we talked about, and there's only 5, I'm not going to go too long, was syllabus template language. So I'm actually part of the CSU Chancellor's Office initiative in terms of doing AI instruction for faculty at the moment. So I'm currently working with a lot of San Jose State faculty talking about aspects of AI within that course that we have through the Chancellor's Office. And as part of that course, they get an opportunity to review other syllabus template language, and they also get an opportunity to generate their own syllabus template language and start to think about what are things they might like to incorporate within their own course structures. So that's been fun to see the various different types of things that people consider within those policies. Just shout out to Natalie there from the Ideas Centre. Where are you, Natalie? We have put up some of that information on the Ideas Centre website. There are some sample syllabi statement there for you. If you haven't checked that out, please do. Another fantastic resource. And please obviously communicate with Natalie and others in terms of other ideas that you might have. We've been clear to, I think, steer clear of like policy. Well, for the most part, we want to encourage the use of AI, for better or worse. And I'm glad that the president mentioned, Eric is one of my grad students that you mentioned about the train leaving. So we've had that discussion where I don't know that it's necessarily the best policy to tell students not to use AI at all. So I don't know that I agree with those syllabi statement, but people are free to disagree with me on that. But I think it's already in motion. I said we've got to find ways that where are the limitations of how we want students to use it and specifying that within our syllabi. Lastly, and the point I'll finish on is equity issues. Many of the AI tools that are currently available have many paid options. So are we just entrenching a new form of advantage to certain students who can afford it? So as in if I can pay for the top tool and it's giving me all fantastic resources and I'm the one getting the A's in the courses, how is that fair on other students who would have gotten an A as well, only they just can't afford that particular AI tool? So I think we need to think carefully about that, especially within a diverse student body. Thank you.
So just 3 more bullets if we can, we have time. So one is basically, as we are here, right, we are essentially champions of AI on our campus. So it's very important for us to not only just like learn it, but you also need to become the ambassadors of this. For example, the AI survey that all of us are talking about, because without your input, right, that survey is meaningless. The questions were formed by all the committees, etc. That's one. Bullet 2, so it is also very important that we recognize the fact that just like we always talk about the advent of calculators, and in the 90s, like New York teachers were demonstrating on the street on why calculators should be banned by school districts. And unfortunately, AI is having a similar fate, at least across the CSU when I talk to colleagues, right? So, and I know it's not in this room, that's why you are here, but back to the championship part, right? So we are the ones who need to share the best practices, best guidelines with our own departments, units, etc. And the last part was the composition of our 10-person subcommittee. We actually have colleagues from 5 colleges, as well as library, and 2 staff. So I think we are pretty much trying to cover all grounds. That's it.
Thank you. All right, next we have the University and Academic Policy Committee, the most exciting one for sure. Yes.
Where's the pop? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Use the click.
Yeah, I'll just, I don't see it. Where is it? Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so my name is Maurice Ndole, and I'm the Communications and Media Specialist for the College of Science and Mathematics. And I was very, very honored to be part of the University and Academic AI Policy Subcommittee. And I'm not the chair of the committee. I was just asked to come and present what they worked on. The group worked very hard. And our chair could not make it because she has a class that goes on around this time. So thank you very much to the entire committee for what they did. So the main objective of what we're doing, we came up with an objective statement, which is Fresno State University and academic AI policy aims to use AI tools responsibly in teaching and research, ensuring academic integrity and ethical use of the technology. Our subcommittee policy proposal seeks to enhance learning and keep the university at the forefront of AI advancement. Recognizing the rapid development of AI technology, the policy must be dynamic, with regular reviews recommended to ensure Fresno State leadership in AI technology. This approach supports continuous improvement and adaptation to new opportunities and challenges in AI. And as part of our deliberations, we looked at several schools, and one of the schools we looked at was Stanford. And one thing we noticed off the bat is Stanford is very open. They don't have like a static policy about AI, and they're looking at expanding it, and they have a sense of welcoming people to, or their students or their community to work on AI. So we came up with 12 policy guidelines, and we created a rubric with SMART goals. And the rubric were based on what we decided we gauge as the impact of AI down the road. According to the PricewaterhouseCoopers report, which came out in 2015, and then it was revised again in 2019, the estimation is there will be a 15.7 trillion potential contribution of AI to the global economy, which is an impact of about 26% boost to the GDP in local economies. So our policy guidelines were divided both in academic and university guidelines, and the 12 of them are ethical considerations, education and training, research and innovation, accessibility, which is a huge thing, accessibility in every sense of the word that you can think of, be able to visualize, be able to interact with it on a pedagogical fashion, or any way of accessibility. We are imagining that in the academic and university policy. Data governance and compliance, or to emphasize compliance. And in that, we are thinking about things like AI Bill of Rights, and we were very fascinated to see that the White House did come up with an AI Bill of Rights, which they put out, which is available for people to see, and we'll attach that in our reports, in our final report. Security and cybersecurity, and you'll notice that some of the themes of the things we are talking about are kind of overlapping with other subcommittees as well. Public engagement, we thought that public engagement is very important because AI is something that people are still learning. There's a lot of apprehension about AI. There's a lot of confusion about it. So I think as a university, we need to be a leader in engaging the public and talking about it. Evaluations and continuous improvements. The technology will change and we'll have to change with it. Collaboration and partnerships, and I like what our keynote speaker was saying, where he offered to collaborate with us. So we need to embrace those kind of opportunities and create more collaborations with people and companies and individuals, students, whoever it is that is out there stretching their hands to join us. Dissemination and knowledge and risk management. So we kind of zeroed in into 4 academic policies that we can actually work on for this year, and 3 university policies, education and training for, they are over there. I don't want to go repeating myself on that. So just to kind of dig deeper into, for example, education and training, the reason why we think that's important is because education and training are essential to equip our students. We believe that our students and faculty are already using AI. So whether they admit it or not, they're using AI. And unless you're not aware of AI, which is going to be really strange, I think everybody's using it. So, and as part of our goal is to offer AI-related courses. We need to have like GE courses, which are AI-based, which are giving people an opportunity to interact with AI, to be familiar with it. Provide our faculty with training for AI so that they can be confident in teaching it and incorporating it in their classes. Also to be able to detect when AI is not used the correct way beyond the guidelines of what they have agreed to use in their classes. conduct at least 2 workshops per semester. If we can be able to achieve that, we would be good for it. Create an AI center, and this idea we borrowed from Stanford. Stanford has a human-centered AI center where they research on AI and they find all these issues that are affecting day-to-day people, and they come out with the white papers I think it's every month. I get it every now and then. I've kind of not figured out the consistency of it, but it's a very impressive paper. The latest thing that they did send out to us was how AI is impacting African Americans and the research on that. So if we can establish a center similar to that, it will be helpful to the Valley, because Fresno State is considered the leader in academics and in the Valley. Data governance, I think Farin has touched on that, and is going to overlap in all these other groups, so I'm not going to dig deep into that. Ethical considerations, how are we going to use AI? Is AI going to be used to help people enroll? Is it going to decide who's going to come to Fresno State? How are we going to use it? So all those ethical considerations are really important. And there was a statistic there. We did put some SMART goals, and we want to say that we want to achieve 95% compliance on privacy and data security, for example. It's a very lofty goal, but it's something that we can do, because I don't think there's a reason why we should not have that. Reduce bias-related incidents by 20% through regular bias audits and mitigation efforts. Ensure that AI algorithms are explainable for at least 90% of decisions that we use AI. If you're going to make a decision based on AI, we have to be able to explain to somebody how did we arrive at that decision. And establish clear accountability and document responsibility for AI outcomes. All right, so let me just go real quick to, I'm going to skip some slides over here because I think I'm running out of time. How much time do I have? I get too excited when I'm talking about AI, so pardon me about that. So cybersecurity and cybersecurity is one of a key component of university policy that we think is going to overlap in other places. So AI, establishing AI protocols, which are going to be really changing as time goes on. We have to understand that we are still discovering what is happening with AI. Some companies have been working with AI for a long time. We have not, so we need to brace ourselves for disruptions that are going to be coming with the AI. I mean, Dr. Koo was talking about how creators are finding out that their work is being used with AI and they're not being compensated. So we're talking about copyright violations and things like that, and all the other peril that can come across with AI. So we'd like to respond and resolve AI-related security issues, ideally within 48 hours. 48 hours is a very long time, but it's like the worst of the worst scenarios. If we have an AI issue and we have to wait 48 hours, is a long time. So if we cannot resolve it within 48 hours, that can be really problematic, but it's just a rubric that we put in place. Hopefully we can be able to resolve those things faster than that. Public engagement is huge. A lot of things we talked about, AI, people are going to ask questions. Whenever Fresno State is going to be engaged in something, and the public is going to ask questions about it. So we need to hold these regular sessions. And for us, the goal here is to create a policy for engaging the public, explaining AI to them, organize community outreach events annually, at least one event where we invite a keynote speaker who's an expert about it, and we talk about AI, and we invite the community, maybe disseminate the information also by other media, video, YouTube, whatever. Collect feedback for at least 500 stakeholders regarding AI policies, and we are doing that with our survey, and so on and so forth. And then disseminating the knowledge, the things that we gather, we make those information accessible, and that can also play a good role in our university policy. I can go on and on about this, so I'll leave this with our final desired outcome. Our desired outcome is to establish a clear and dynamic university and academic policy that will guide Fresno State and the region in the AI era. So I believe that as Fresno State, we are the leaders in academia over here, and it is upon us to take that role seriously and to create the policy guidelines which are going to guide the valley in the AI field. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Maurice, if you could also pass the clicker down as well with the, yeah, thank you. So the next committee is the Work Integrity Committee. We'll get and they have a presentation as well.
It's very short. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lisa Bell, and I'm part of the University Marketing and Communications in the Office of the President. I'm not the chair of our committee. That would have been William Hardaway, who moderated the lunchtime panel, but he had another engagement right now, so I'm stepping in for him. Our subcommittee explores work integrity issues involving artificial intelligence, and our charge was to explore the use of AI in job tasks at every level of the university, including faculty, staff, and student assistants on campus. Like all the subcommittees, our 8-member team represents a cross-section of faculty and staff from different areas on campus. We all came to this task force from different perspectives with varying levels of familiarity with and experience with AI. We've been meeting each month via Zoom to discuss relevant issues, and we keep the conversation going between our meetings by sharing articles and videos we come across in a Google chat space. Over the past few months, we've come together with lots of questions about AI and ethics and how those filter into a work integrity lens. This slide behind me highlights just some of the questions. I'm sure that, as others have mentioned, there's a lot of overlap, like things that we're talking about or things that have come up with other subcommittees. I first heard about ChatGPT from a friend of mine who's a Fresno State history professor in December of 22, so just like a month after ChatGPT debuted. She was very alarmed about how students might be using AI to cheat or use it to plagiarize things. And she told me, knowing that I work on campus, she's like, the university needs to establish protocols for this right away. And it was that conversation outside of work that sparked my interest in joining this task force. While much of the news about AI seems very recent and dramatic, our subcommittee has also talked about forms of AI that have been helping us in more subtle ways for years. Things like predictive text, writing aids like Grammarly, and editing suggestions in the Google Work suite. Looking at AI with a broader perspective helps us see how it can be used for good and improve quality of life and work, and that makes it a little less alarming, I think. So where we are now, we've started to narrow the focus of our discussions and trying to highlight some of the areas that we see as critical issues and concerns that we've identified. This slide lists some of those. How do we onboard and train employees about AI? Can AI be used ethically? How can it be used ethically? What are privacy and data security concerns, again, with the overlap with other teams? What role does bias play in AI training? So we prepared a brief activity to incorporate your thoughts, again, taking advantage of the captive audience that we have here today, to get your, how would you prioritize the top 3 issues, concerns, or key areas? So if you scan this QR code with your smartphone, it should take you to a web page where you can drag your top 3 concerns into a box. So go ahead and take a second to do that now. How do we click on to see the results.
I'll do it. Yeah.
And then Brad is going to help when everyone has had, we'll give you a minute to do that, and then we'll take a look at what the ranking is that you've come up with. Well, maybe we won't.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just refreshed it.
Well, we will explore your input when we get back and meet again as a team, and I'd like to thank you all for your time this afternoon. I'm sorry that didn't work.
All right. And the last presentation question? Sure, go.
So one thing I want to stress is looking at this from an entrepreneurial point of view, Dr. Kim's tool with that smile, and like you guys have an excellent framework for large language models. There's so much more to AI than just LLM and ChatGPT. I've been working with support recognition for like 10 years now, and again, that chatbot for the smile for asking questions. Those, I don't know if those fit into your framework, but those will add huge benefit to students now today. And getting them from those level 1 questions to those level 5 questions, that's something professors can evaluate students on. I mean, that can be incorporated today. So what are your priorities in terms of trying to stay ahead of the curve and implement tools like the Smile versus making sure that the framework is nice and robust, and making sure that
you're going to do their presentation without it?
the ChatGPT issue?
I'll take that from academic research and innovation. I think the biggest problem we have at Fresno State is not all of our faculty, staff, administrators are educated. Like my colleague here, I did not know about any AI tools until probably about 6 months ago, clearly, and I'm in research administration. I do work with grant proposals all the time. So I think with all of us, be it in education and learning and teaching or supporting our faculty and staff, we need to be trained. We don't know what tools are out there. I had an aha moment with our faculty members from engineering when he shared with me there were 50 plus tools that I had no idea in AI that could assist. Since then, I have trained myself, and I'm starting to slowly utilize tools to, submit grant proposals where I use editing tools, perhaps, to support our faculty. But I think the primary concern I have is we don't have those tools yet. We need to be trained so we understand what AI can do, because it's an impressive tool. I don't think we should be scared of it. We need to let our students know what it can do, but we need to educate them. I think that's my, when our colleagues in academic research and innovation, that's their number one recommendation, that we need to be trained and we need to know what is out there.
A point I just want to make as well about, I've been involved in this stuff for a while, and I published a paper back in 2015 as part of my postdoc at UC Berkeley, where we were looking at natural language processing models for middle school students. So the models would be trained on 1,000 student responses. And that's basically the trick then became like, oh, well, how do we actually use that if we can score it in real time, an open-based response as opposed to multiple choice? How are we actually guiding them to improve their science explanations, and just uncovering, as in we've talked about the culture of inquiry, but there's not a culture of revision in terms of writing. So that's where there's things like ChatGPT could start to support that more when people engage more within aspects of prompt engineering, that you can actually support those types of elements to it. So I think that's important. A point on the actual getting to the foundational questions, I'd have to look at that framework more, but I'd be curious about, within any type of framework like that, when you're saying there's levels, it can sound a bit linear, but depending on people's disciplinary background, they're going to come at it from different angles. So are all those angles actually being encompassed when you get at that foundational question? Because you could ask a very insightful question, but it could be missing a whole range of potential biases. And again, I think that goes back to the importance of like having diverse teams working on several of these type of processes. And of course, I think we've been doing a very good job as represented here of like trying to bring in as many people as we can from across the campus to try and ensure we're watching out for potential blind spots.
And there is another, I mean, you made a good point there that there's a lot more about AI than just ChatGPT. So it's upon us to create that awareness that AI is a whole new field, is a whole field by itself, which is not synonymous with ChatGPT. So that's something that needs to go on, and we also need to be able to tell people the regular things they use. I mean, you have some AI being used in your Gmail right now. So people have to be aware that AI is already being used by them, even if they didn't know about it.
Thank you. And I think I'll open up for questions here in a minute. I just wanted to, we do have the results from the poll. So thank you for the technical assistance on that. So here are the quick poll results. You can see there for the questions. So, and look at that at the very top. Training is the number one aspect of what people are looking for. So also say, did anyone from the Workforce Development Committee show up? No, I can do the presentation for the Workforce Development, but because I think that also ties into what we just talked about. And I can tell you that the Workforce Development Committee is one of the most passionate committees, and they've done a ton of work, and it's really exciting for some of the results that they've come up with as well. So let me share that. Hold on. Yeah, just took a minute. Okay, so these are the members of the Workforce Development Committee. You can see here Dr. Keith Clement was the chair, and then the other members, again, like most of the other committees, or all of the other committees, good representation from across the different colleges and divisions and faculty and staff. Some of the things that they reported on that they worked on last semester, one is workforce preparedness and education, as already been mentioned by some of the other committee members. Challenges and concern with adoption, specifically associated with workforce development, ethical responsible use, partnerships and collaboration, AI design and bias. Some future directions, AI survey analysis. So it was mentioned before, but we do have a survey that was sent out to the campus community, one for students, one for employees, faculty, staff, and administrators. So they'll be looking at those results, as will the rest of the committee. There's also potential, they like to hold some focus groups. So one of the questions in that survey says, would you be willing to meet with a group to discuss some of these issues? So if you select yes to that, some of these committees, specifically the Workforce Development Committee, may reach out to you and see if you'd like to do a focus group. Preparation of the final campus report, I'll mention that here in a few minutes. And then grant development. So one of the things that the Workforce Development Committee is really interested in is developing, looking at different grants, NSF grants or things like that, potentially, as was mentioned before, an AI center, and finding the resources to make that happen. So I know that was one of the directions that they were really excited about. And there were some other grant opportunities that they had discussed as well as far as workforce development. So that was the report from the Workforce Development Committee. We do have a few minutes if you have other questions. I think there's one in the front here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not quite a question, but it's inspired from this gentleman. I want to share my experience implementing AskMy from Dr. Kim in my class for 3 semesters now. So I have the privilege to try it with him and from trying from level 1 to level 5 questions, and we talk about, how to use it to really like encourage the student with critical thinking. And I get the feedback from the student are quite fascinating. So what I did in my class, I'm teaching ag tech course at Kremen School for future teachers, so I do believe that these skills are very important for our future teachers. And so I have them ask 50 questions on any topics that they like. I mean, then of course the student will come back and ask, what should I ask, right? And they are worried to be wrong. So you can give them some topics, but you also give them the freedom to explore whatever they are curious about. And I like to see if it's really first what they think about their level of critical thinking evaluated by ASMI, and a lot of them, I mean most of them are very they're satisfied with the evaluation, but they're also very satisfied with the reason that ASMI give them. So they're convinced, and then it's really also inspire them to learn more about the topic. As we know that it's like a code, so it doesn't give you the direct response as ChatGPT, but it gives you the direction to get the answer. So it kind of prompts the student to learn more about the topic, and which I think is very, very valuable. So those are like some of the findings I've got so far from the students' reflection, and it's actually it's my research agenda for this sabbatical. I like to see how across the board for 3 semesters how the student evolves over the act of asking questions. So I just want to share that, and if anyone is interested in talking more about this, I'm happy to. Thank you.
Other questions for the representatives from each committee? No? All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's give them a hand and the work they've done. Thank you.